Hello, my beautiful souls of the Pleasurable Success Podcast. I'm so excited and honestly elated and so honored to be having this powerhouse of a woman with me today and speaking to all of you. We have a juicy interview in store, and I'm so excited to officially announce Ashae Sundara here on the Pleasurable Success Podcast.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here, guys. And what a perfect drop in for me to start off this zone of podcasting in pleasurable success, because that's what it's all about. So
Right? Oh.
take it.
Yeah, it really was divine timing too, because when I had journaled this year, 2022, what is my vision for pleasurable success, and who I wanted to have be on this podcast, you were like top number one, let's get Ashae on this podcast. And then you made that post and I was like, I'm not missing out on this opportunity.
So divine. Thank you for sending the message. It probably
Yes. Beautiful. So I would love to start off this journey with you on you just giving us some insight on your journey and how you got to being this really like pioneer and liberator for so many women and so many humans, so many souls in this world inside of feminine leadership. So I would love for you to just like kind of take us on that journey with you and go wherever direction it takes. And we are all ears.
Okay, beautiful. So, it stems back to when I was in college. I had this experience of two things. Number one is that I stopped taking hormonal birth control at that time. I was on it for many years because I grew up with it really debilitating menstrual cramps. And when I went off of it, my body, my whole hormonal system, digestive system broke down. And I got really sick when I was in college. And so I started this journey of personal healing, holistic healing. At the same time, because I was focusing on my body and building back vitality and moving from a place of unease to more ease through everything such as nutrition and breathing and yoga and meditation, and kind of opening myself to be my own healer, right? What I started to recognize and see was that I was in such lack of resonance. It felt such dissonance to be any of the people in the world based on what people were studying. So it's like, you can study to be a nurse, you can study to be this type of person, essentially. And I kept having the sensation and the feeling in that I don't want to have a mask. I don't want to put on a hat that says, okay, I'm going to work. It's 9 a.m. Here's my hat. And now I'm going to be in the world. Right. So I just had this experience of, I just want to be me. So those both swirled, right? This desire to just be me and have that be my work in the world and my career. It started early on. And at the same time, I was experiencing a lot of physical symptoms that made it challenging to even think about going to a job for 8 hours a day. Like, my body was not actually capable of that at that time. And so I was like, I'm going to need to, number one, fulfill this soul desire to not put on this hat, and also create something that is honoring my body. That's really where it all sprouted from. And as I continued my journey of personal healing, which led me to energetic work, trauma release work, breath work, somatic healing, tantra, pleasure work, right? Feminine-based embodiment, like polarity work, like all this stuff. And as I started doing that, at the same time, I still had this thread of like, what am I gonna, how not only like, how am I going to be just me in the world, but simultaneously at those very early stages of my personal development, growth, and awakening, I was having the experience of, I don't know who's on this journey with me. I don't know who's experiencing this, but I know that there are other people. And so I started talking about it. I started posting about it. I started sharing what I was learning and growing through from a place of genuine desire to serve and to connect with the souls on this planet that are growing through the same things. Because in college, I was surrounded by my previous sorority sisters, and there was a lot of drinking and partying, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't the direction that I was going in. And so it was hard for me to feel, I felt very alone, but I knew something in me knew, like I had no idea about the coaching industry. I had no idea about any of this, but I knew that if I shared my journey and what was helping me heal my digestive problems and my acne and my lack of libido and not having a period for 2 years and like all these different pieces and elements to my journey, that over time, like I would connect with the people, and it just started happening and happening and happening. I started getting my first clients, and it started building from there. And so my journey with pleasurable success has from the beginning started from, how can I work in a way that serves my body first and foremost, always, 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 always. This is my home. Our bodies are our homes. Like, how can I serve or work or make money in a way that is serving my body and the world at the same time, and connect with the people that I can serve through what I'm learning on my journey of growth and development, which has taken me in I've done so much in the coaching industry to get to where I am now. Like, there's so many different types of courses I've held and containers and clients, and it's a journey, but it stems from that original seed of how can I serve my body and how can I serve the world at the same time.
Chills. And I say chills, and it really deeply touches me because it's so aligned with how disconnected I felt along my journey and in corporate and putting on that hat every day. And so when you beautifully articulated, like, how can I serve my body, my soul, my heart, and the world? It's just like, yes, like that's it. Because it's not one or the other. Like, you do get to have both in this lifetime.
Yeah. Why would it be any other way? Like, why would we be in a universe that's designed to disconnect us, right? The society is meant to disconnect us, but the universe, the world, the energetic structure of this, the organic nature of this space is really whatever we actually decide, because we're in reality with how we want it to be, by how we're living and how we're choosing to live. So part of that journey is awakening to the sovereignty of the soul to go, wait, maybe I do get a choice. Maybe I do get a say. And so when people are even in like their own leadership roles or entrepreneurial roles, and they're like, but how do you work less and make more and all of the, and I'm like, it's that same principle that maybe got you out of corporate. It's the same principle that got you to choose entrepreneurship in the first place, which is that it's up to you to decide how it is. That's it.
Yep. That's creating a life by design. Yeah. Oh, a new paradigm, a new world. Yes. So one thing that really stood out to me was when you were saying, like, I felt alone. And I think that a lot of the listeners, I know myself included, we have this feeling of like being misunderstood. Like, nobody gets me. Like, why am I getting called to do this work? And all of these people are super satisfied and fulfilled doing this work over here. But like, why am I getting called in this direction? And that feeling of being misunderstood really stops a lot of people from pursuing that. So I would love to hear your message to the human who is experiencing feeling misunderstood, and what your advice would be for them.
The deepest pain is not when others misunderstand us, but when we don't follow through to understand ourselves, right? Like, that's the deepest pain. And so we think that it's going to be so challenging on the other side. But what I've seen is when you lean into it, like, actually your soul tribe, the people that you connect with that, you resonate with, I mean, even in this conversation right here, I mean, I get you, you get me, we're having a conversation where it's eye to eye, soul to soul, heart to heart, body to body. Like there's an integration that's here, right? There's a meeting that's here. There's a connection, an intimacy, a presence that's so alive, right? And it's so fulfilling to experience that. And so when you're feeling that, like, oh, what if I'm misunderstood? You've got to like calm your heart and say, yeah, but you might be misunderstood by some people, by people in your life right now, by family, by people who have seen you as you for however long you've been. But think about all of the people, and you might not know this, but imagine, and I can just help you imagine by letting you know that it's real. There's friends, lovers, sisters, brothers, like family, tribe, you know, people that will resonate with you, that makes it so worth it. I mean, the connections that I have with my clients, with in my mastermind group, even in my bigger containers when we're doing coaching or there's a transmission and I'm talking to the people in my work, it's profound to me how many incredible souls there are on this planet that are so ready. Like, and now is our time. I mean, really, this is the time.
Yes.
Go for it.
Hell yeah. Like when you were saying that, like, I don't want to like put on the hat and like pretend to be somebody I'm not for 8 hours a day. I was like, and that's why you were born in this digital era where you can get paid to be yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
so
It's so incredible that part of the reason why people hire you is because of who you are, right? I've been breaking this down with some of my clients recently, because it can be easy to think that people hire you for the information that you hold, right? The wisdom, the medicine, the information that you hold. But that's only one fraction of why they hire you, because if they wanted just the information, they would get a book. But they want
yeah.
the information plus the uniqueness of you, your journey, your experience, your channel, like how you speak, how you talk, how it moves through your body, how they feel in your presence, you know? With some people you feel super activated and like okay, I got to make moves. With other people you feel, oh my gosh, I can like soften my heart, and like I can be held here. With other people you feel like, oh, life is really fun and simple and easy. And so, you know, that's also part of why we get hired as well, is because we give people the permission to access our field, and in our field are these codes of how we live and how we're experiencing and doing life, right? And if I think about it, it's like I've been really devoted for at least 10 years to living in my sovereignty, to feeling deeply, right? To uh, embodying feminine energetics, right? So
Yeah.
there's so much that when someone works with me, there's access to these different layers on top of the skill that I've
Mm.
developed over my years doing this work.
Yes. And you do it so divinely. Something that I just want to praise you for a minute is how you've been able to like seamlessly integrate sex, love, pleasure, intimacy with like leadership, with business, with entrepreneurship, with sales. And I'm curious, like, what was your transition? Like, how was that transition for you? And like, did you always just think like, oh yeah, like sex, love, intimacy is like so aligned with business, money, all the things?
I definitely didn't, you know, for many years, I simply worked in the field of sensuality, relationship, union, and like sex, sensuality, pleasure, tantra. So it was over 2 years that I was focused on simply that. And it wasn't until, I mean, throughout that journey, I held some smaller containers for leaders, but the majority of my message was around sensuality, sexuality, and relationship. And so something shifted for me when I always joke, like it took me to a place where I was like having really solid 50, 60, 70, 80K months consistently and one time I looked at that and I was like, I'm really good at this. Pretty good at this. I should probably help the people that, and I started to ask myself, okay, well, what am I doing? Right? What am I doing? And I started to really collect all of the data. And that's when it really started gearing toward entrepreneurs and leaders. And I started focusing on women who are in that sphere. But the integration is like, I can't not, it's so much a part of my journey into my confidence, into my voice, into the willingness to show up. Like it's the opening that I've had in my feminine body, in my heart, in my yoni, like in my pleasure body, has greatly altered my ability to show up as the leader that I am, and has shifted my relationship to money in such a way. And so I really learned, it's like, what I feel is that we learn business through, we can learn business through the medicine that serves us most in life, right? So I'm someone that has been served most by the medicine of Tantra, right? Of feeling deeply. And so that's what serves my business, right? For another person, they might be super served by, and pleasure is just one. For me, it's two. It's like pleasure and the quantum consciousness, which I'm sure we can talk to as well.
Oh, yeah.
But for some people, it might be, they've done a lot of work in communication, for example, right? And that's definitely one element too. But let's just say they've done so much work in like authentic relating and communication. If they over time start working with people in business, they're going to work with business owners around their communication skills, because it's like that's what their medicine is. That's what helped them. That's what gave them the breakthroughs in their body and heart that showed them and helped them access what we're all really looking for, which is happiness and love and joy and pleasure and intimacy, right? And so like anything that's going to help an individual feel or access those things, it's like that's what's going to help them in their business as well.
It's that is their pleasure.
Yeah.
So good. And I want to like pinpoint something out that I know my listeners are going to be like, wait, hold the fuck up. What do you mean? I think there's this huge limiting belief inside of this industry that you have to be a business coach to be successful. And you just pointed out right then and there, you are the proof that that is not true. You said you were making $70,000, $80,000 a month. You weren't business coaching.
No. I was definitely not business coaching. In fact, it took me, like, I didn't even recognize really how incredible that really is and was. I mean, obviously I was very thrilled personally, but I wasn't like, it was more so like this divine lightning energy that came through me that was like, you've got to teach people business. But it wasn't an intellectual decision. It wasn't something that came from my mind. It wasn't like, oh, well, the market is doing this these days, or people are wanting that. It was like my soul having a clear recognition of the skill that I've acquired, right? And looking at, wow, I'm proud of myself and I'm really good at this, and wow, like so much has shifted for me in my life around this. But yeah, it's such a limiting belief, and it's just so silly. It is. It's so specific to this industry. Like, we've got to zoom out. Think of all of the artists that are in like museums that are, super, super abundant and successful. Think of the people that are athletes. Think of, zoom all the way out, like a fiction book writer, like you go after what is true for you. I mean, it's so ridiculous to me, like, even thinking about it right now, that people think that you have to do things in order to be successful. It's like it comes back down to like the really simple thing, like, what do you love? What are you good at? Where are your skills? What do you want to talk about? Like, what is what is your proof too? That's the other thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't, if people have a hard time in their businesses too, especially in the coaching industry, when they're trying to do something based on what they see versus what's true, because people can feel what's not embodied. You know, you don't want to work
Mhm.
with someone who just has really pretty Instagram filters, but doesn't really get it on a body level.
It's felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so felt. And something that you really enlightened me on is that you don't need anything.
Mhm.
And I would love for you to speak to that, because when I first heard you say that, it hit me like, oh God, okay, I don't need any, like, it shook me, because I was on this mission of like, well, I need to have this and I need to have that. And like, if I want to be successful, I need like, and when I heard you say that, the pressure was completely released.
Mhm.
And so much unfolded from that alone. So thank you for that breakthrough. Um, but I would love for you to speak to that, because I think it's so important for them to hear this.
Mhm. Well, ultimately, so it's nuanced, right? I'll say it in a few different ways. The first thing is that when we are when we're telling ourselves that I need blank in order to blank, we're in victim, because
Yep.
automatically we're making ourselves wrong. I need something that I don't have in order to, it's like when say I need money to be happy. No, you need happiness to make money, right? Like, it's actually flipped.
Yep.
And so that's first and foremost, is that anytime you're telling yourself that you need something in order for something else to happen, you're not self-sourcing, right? Self-sourcing is asking spirit, God, love, whatever you connect to, the universe, to fill you with everything that you need in the present moment. Yeah, that's self-sourcing. So anytime we're not doing that, we're in a space of disempowerment. Yeah. The other thing to recognize in this conversation of need versus want versus desire, right, is that think about it in terms of relationship. Okay. I have standards. I have needs like that. If they're not met, I'm not willing to be in relationship with a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a no, right?
Yeah.
Like, really clear communication, honesty, right? Awareness of the polarity, right? Like, these are requirements for me to be in an intimate relationship. However, right, when I'm inside of that relationship, I want to actually be operating from a place of self-sourcing as the foundation, right? Because what happens when we have all these needs is that we then place them on our partner, they become expectations, needs don't get met. So there's a difference between having a need and like, first and foremost coming from a place of self-sourcing, and then opening to receive it without it being, if you don't, then something bad is going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't massage me right now, then I am going to hold love back from you. That
Yes.
is how that's how we operate in our businesses too. And we say, okay, well, I need, 10 clients in order to do, this amount or have this kind of success, right? So we're doing that same thing. And instead, to come and sit in the right relationship with our business and with our partners, it's saying, I want this, I desire this, but I'm fulfilling my own needs, right? I'm
Mm.
fulfilling my own needs, and on top of that, I can totally desire. It's really beautiful for me to be seen in that desire, for me to be seen in that craving, and it doesn't need to get met in this moment because I'm okay on my own.
Yes.
I still want it, and I'm still going to hold space for it, and I'm still going to be like, yes, this is happening in my life, this is happening in my relationship, this is happening in my business, and get really excited about it. But it's the time piece, because if it needs to happen right now, or it needs to happen within a week, or if it needs to happen in order to, then we're placing pressure on the system, which is ultimately going to contract love or contract money, right? Is actually
Yeah.
doesn't there's not a fluidness for the energy to flow. And money likes to flow in and out, right? Money is like water, and it likes to have space to flow. And if you're making it so that you need it in order to, it contracts, right?
Yep.
So all of that is real. And then there's the conversation of, right, we do need a baseline of money in order to pay rent, in order to eat food. There is actually human needs, but that's
Absolutely
very easy. Like, it's very easy to meet your needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then once your needs are met, then you're operating in a whole space of desire. And that's when it really gets interesting.
Yeah. The word that was coming through was conditional. And it's like when you're approaching relation with business, with money, with men, with women, with in partnership, when you're approaching it with conditions, then it's not coming from truth. It's not coming from who you actually are, which is unconditional love.
The conversation I've been having recently around this too, which is really interesting, is this understanding of unconditional power, because we also put conditions on ourselves in terms of when we're in our power, or when we're in our alignment. Like, alignment looks like this, power looks like this, right?
Yes, I'm like, this is the conversation. Oh my gosh, yeah. I love this.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is like, we put these conditions like, okay, if I do 2 hours of my morning practice and write in my journal and go to the gym, then money will come to me and the clients will come to me because the conditions are right. Yep. Versus the unconditional knowing and the unconditional power to say, this is who I am. This is who I've built myself to be. This is what I know. This is what I'm skilled at. This is my life. This is my proof. This is how I think, act, believe, talk, right? All of these pieces, and going, okay, if I am having a bad hair day, if none of the conditions are right, if I got in a fight with a family member, it doesn't matter, because that is, it's still me, right? It's still the depth of embodiment that I hold. And I see a lot of women, especially in this industry, especially get lost in emotional states being reasons as to why you can't. Like, I can't show up for my work because of this grief, or because of, this exhaustion, or because of this up and down with my energy levels, or I can't grow my, I usually have 10 people. I can't grow to 50 because what if one day I'm feeling this way, right? So we like to also operate from a place where we're not in unconditional power when it comes to our emotional states, when actually every emotion is power itself. It's raw chi, universal energy flowing through you. And it doesn't mean you're more or less powerful, but it's, how do you process your emotions? How are you with those emotions? How are you to your own self? Like, how are you showing up to that? That's the only thing that matters. Is it's not that the conditions are perfect to lead to success. It's that in whatever conditions there are, you make choices that show you who you really are. You make choices that make you feel proud to be you. You make choices that every day you get a little bit better, right? Every day you get a little bit better at slaying your inner dragons, right? You get a little bit better at the tiny habits that support your life. You get a little bit better at kindness to yourself. You get a little bit better in all these different ways and dimensions. Yeah. And through that, right, you're building your power to know that you can have all the success in the world, and it's not based on how you feel. We've really got to shift out of our emotions tied into our business, while also recognizing that feeling our emotions is our superpower. So it gets a little nuanced.
It does, but it lands so deeply. And you guys, go rewind 1 minute, 2 minutes, and just let that land. Unconditional power. This is something that I preach in a very different way, because creating that reality, right? Creating that life by design, like we were talking about earlier, where like, even on your days off, even when you're sick, even when you have an ebb, even when you're in a fight with your boyfriend, whatever, you still get to remain in a place of, I'm successful inevitably, right? I just get to be in this experience.
Yes, I'm successful inevitably. I get to be in this experience, and I'm constantly learning from these experiences. And so I'm constantly choosing to grow through them. And even if I changed nothing besides just like a little different of the way that I looked through my eyes at my partner, just a little bit softer eyes instead of glaring eyes. Like if I changed nothing but that in this one moment, that would be growth. That would be healing. That would be me showing up to further my power and hold myself to higher standards for how I'm being, how I'm operating, what kind of energetics are moving through my system. And so it's like the permission to be where you are and to know that that's not going to impact your success. However, it would impact your success if you stayed there, right? So it's
Exactly.
not that the like, week where you're feeling just like, oh, I don't know who I am and I'm in the void and I feel off. Like, it's not that that's going to impact your success. We all need these moments in life where we're questioning everything, right?
Yeah.
However, it's like the willingness to be in that and to learn and grow from it, so that if you ever are in the zone like that again, you know how to face it, right? You have the wisdom now to do it different, or to make it faster, move it faster through the system. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so beautiful. And I think that's something everyone listening to this should be journaling on too, of just like, what is that little piece of growth that I can take out of this experience? Okay. I want to ask you one other question around success in this field, in the 3D. And then I want to talk to you about all things quantum. So you are such a pioneer for women in feminine leadership. And I'm curious what that feels like for you. Like, did you think when getting into this world, did you have that moment of like, oh, I'm gonna be big time? And like, and how does that responsibility feel for you?
Well, thank you so much for seeing me in that way. It feels so sweet to see myself through your eyes. And no, in fact, at the beginning, I held so much doubt about myself and my work, and it took me a very long time to actually see myself. But I had such a strong desire to serve. I wake up in the morning and I just want to serve myself and serve the world, like every day, impulse. This is my impulse. And so I just acted on that and acted on that and acted on that. And as I followed the journey day by day, it wasn't this long-term vision of who I'm going to be, but as I just started listening and following, it started to become more and more clear who I am for the world and who I'm choosing to show up to be, right? I would say more within the last 2 years, it's become more and more apparent, and just continues to. And so this is also for anyone who's just starting out. You don't have to know who you are for the world, really. You don't have to know. I mean, it will shift and change as you keep going. Life is always changing us. And so I might be someone else for the world soon too. I don't know, but I do know that following the breadcrumbs and listening helped me to just slowly, and we all want to know right away. Gosh, like,
Oh, of course.
What's my purpose? What's my why? Who am I? Why am I here? Right? We all ask ourselves these deep questions as humans. And anytime I'm in a moment where I'm like, who am I? Like, what am I even doing? Like, I love to connect to the collective of everyone who asks those questions. Because I think that when we're doing that, especially as leaders, as we're getting into our work, as we're like starting our business, we can ask those questions really deeply and looking at, 5-10 years in the future. And it can be challenging to move forward when there's either a lack of clarity or when you just want to know so bad. And my invitation is to enjoy the ride a bit and enjoy the mystery, and to know that like you're becoming who you're becoming, and you don't have to know it all or figure it all out now. All you have to do is be willing to open yourself every day to ask, like, who do I have a message for? Right? It's as simple as that. Like, if I could say anything to anyone right now, what would I say? And it's as simple as that when it comes to marketing. I mean, there's more, just, we can open up a whole
There's so much fun stuff.
So much to explore there, but I didn't know. And you asked the question about responsibility and like how it feels to be holding this space. And yeah, it feels beautiful. And to be honest, the biggest piece that I feel is it feels really humble. Like, I feel like the more money I make, the more women I support, I just feel more humble, more real, more human, which I was like, is this right? Like, I feel like a lot of people, when they get more money and more power, they're like harder. And I almost feel like, I have really strong boundaries. I can feel the quote unquote hardness of my power, but there's such a devotion to the softness of my power, to the humanness of my power, to the raw, like vulnerable, this is what's really alive. This is who I really am. This is the humbleness of my power. And that does get reflected in my containers, with my clients, in my mastermind, and my courses, where there's this honesty that comes forward as best I can, right? Like, I'm always wanting to be even more humble, even more real, and to take the pedestals off, to take even put the microphone down and sit in circle instead of being up on a stage. Like, I would much rather that.
Wow.
The way.
I love that so much. That's so beautiful. And it's very felt. You are so, like, just being in your presence, it's humbling, right? Like, you don't put yourself on this pedestal. And whereas a lot of people view you up as one, and you're like, wait, let's have this beautiful circle and hold hands and dance in the forest together. And it's like, our world needs this. And I think that, and I might be speaking for you here, but I think that your message too is that anyone is welcome in that. Like, it's not someone who's more successful or someone who has this. It's like, no, all is welcome.
Yeah, our world desperately needs those that are willing to be humble enough to like see the humanness of it all, right? So if I'm not, but if I were to say I'm a shadow coach and I've healed all my shadow and I have no shadow anymore, it's like, interesting. Like, really, because we're all the same and we all cycle through our wounds, and we get better and better at the response, right, to the world. And power grows when our response becomes more and more conscious and more integrated with purity and with love, essentially. And so the more power we hold, I believe we have more of a chance of kindness and connection and empathy and compassion and really, really seeing eye to eye. And there's inverses in the world, right? It can go the opposite. So that the more power you have, actually, the more you can put yourself at the top and see other people below. And I believe that in our industry, especially, we have an opportunity of coming into the organic nature of what power is meant to be, which is not power over, but just power. That is mine, that is yours, that is everyone's. But I have the power that I have because I choose to have it. I choose to cultivate it. I choose to, do the things that challenge me actually to build it. I mean, even this, when I was first starting, I hated talking. Like I have an open throat in human design, and it was such a challenge for me to be seen, to have conversation. I had this limiting belief that people wouldn't understand me because I can talk in a very feminine way. That's how my channel works. And so in that, like, I don't really like to plan. I just kind of, when I show up and we'll see what happens. Right. Just like we're doing right now. And yeah, I had so many fears, and it was like showing up to them, right? Showing up to those challenges because I wanted to grow for me, not because I need to do podcasts, I need to do videos because that's how you build a business. It's, I want to show up to these things that scare the shit out of me because I know that there's growth there for me. And I feel called, but I'm not letting myself because of the story of who I am. And I've met so many of those moments in my journey as an entrepreneur. And it's amazing to me to look at who I am now versus how I started in terms of my comfortability, my voice, my channel, my ability to hold a room. I mean, in the quantum year last year, we ended up having, by the end of the year, 400 people. This year we already have 300, and it's open all year long. So more will be coming all the time. And it's just like, I'm in these rooms and there's so many people live with me. And I think to myself, whoa, I'm still always so blown away at how of where I've come from, because I had all the same things that probably whoever's listening to this, you're having, right? All the doubts, all the fears, all the scarcity, insecurity, the unknown, the, can I really do this? Will people even like me? Do I have something important to say? Are they going to understand me? Is my branding good enough? Like everything is a part of it. And the journey of, let the journey of confronting all of that be for you, be for your pleasure, be for your body, be for your own personal awakening, healing, and stepping into like your true gifts and your true embodied sense of self.
Yes. And it sounds like those moments and the success and the failures and the like, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing moments, and the money and the success, like the polarizing and the duality of that, like, has amplified you and your truth and permission to be all of you. It's not like, because, you know, like you said, power is sometimes like that pedestal-y type of energy, and sometimes it's not. And it just depends on what you currently hold, right? Like if you're currently holding, oh, I'm above you, I'm above you. Like when you have more money, more power, more responsibility, that's just going to get bigger.
Yes.
Versus
money amplifies. Money amplifies. So if you're a good person with good intentions, with generosity, the more money you have, the more that's going to grow through you and be amplified, right? So and again, it comes down to the sovereignty to choose. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I being? Who am I becoming? Who do I want to be? What kind of energetics do I want to hold? If I'm a, stressed out, anxious person, okay, cool. That's my starting place. There's nothing wrong with that. I can be with that. But who do I want to be, right? Okay, I want to be grounded and I want to feel love, simple, grounded and love. So start every day with just that. If all you do on your journey is look at the current energetics and say, okay, actually, I would like it to be this, and work towards that, write it in your journal every day. Wake up in the morning, read your note that says today's going to be a grounded and loving day, right? Show up to that, show up to that, show up to that. And not only will you be more of a match to money, but then when you do have the money, that's going to amplify and grow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's have a little quantum conversation. So what has this journey of like journeying into the quantum and playing in that field, what shifts has that made for you? And like, was there a moment where you were like, oh, I can tap in. Okay, what's here for me?
There was such a moment. In fact, it was very strong. It was when I first channeled Orgasmic Abundance, which is one of my courses, it came from this moment. And it was that I was launching one of my courses at the time, and I was just experiencing the waves of the launch space, like how many people are going to show up? Only this many people have signed up so far. What's it going to be like? Kind of like this roller coaster of what's going to happen, the unknown, right? And I felt so floaty in it. I felt so like, I really don't know. I have no idea. And I had, been in some of Amanda Francis's courses. I had known some about manifestation, but I don't think I ever really truly applied it. And I remember being in this launch and having this like, I don't want to do this anymore moment. Like, just, I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember I took out my journal and I just said, I'm going to journal everything that I know about manifestation, right? And this is how I created my like famous quantum year and orgasmic abundance journaling session, which includes about 10 questions to answer. And I channeled this in this one moment, and it felt so freeing. I felt like, oh, this is what it feels like to fully believe. Oh, this is what it feels like to fully know. This is what it feels like to embody it. This is what it feels like to welcome it into my day today, not in the future, but today. And I said to myself, I'm going to do this every day for like a month. And if I like hit this goal in this course from doing just this alone, this is the only thing I'm going to change in the way that I run my business, I will teach it. And I think I had like, I had like a 90K launch or something like that from doing that. And I received, I think, over 100 people into that course. And that was the first time that I had over 100 people in one of my courses. And it blew me away. Like, it blew me away. I was like, wow, okay, I literally changed nothing. I'm still showing up. I'm like taking all the actions. I'm posting in my stories. I'm talking to the people online. I'm, telling people of the offer that I have. But here's the difference, is that I'm taking the time every day to write these things out in my journal. And that was the time where it shifted everything for me. I fully started to believe in it and have worked with it every day since. And if some of you are like, what are you even talking about? The quantum field, the quantum is existing all around us at all times. Right now it's happening. And it's our ability to affect reality, right? There's reality that's simply happening because we're living. And there's how my mind, my thoughts, my beliefs, my body language, my breath, my words, and my actions are co-creating with reality, co-creating with what's already been laid out, co-creating with my past. And instead of looking at the past to think about, okay, well, what are my qualifications to decide about where I'm going, what makes me worthy? It's actually the opposite. It's looking to the future. So looking to what you want, what you desire to be in the future, and then creating the present to be a match to that future vision. And so that's what I started to do. I started to go, okay, well, what is it that I want? Or what is it that is coming? What is it that, and I just started dreaming bigger, thinking bigger. Okay, there's going to be 100 people in all my courses. Okay, I'm going to have 6-figure months. Okay, like I just started dreaming bigger and doing the work to integrate that into the present moment. And it has shifted my whole reality, and it allows me more time and space off the phone, because the quantum is in the body, it's in the prayer, it's in eyes closed, it's in, energy. And so it's in the journal, so it's allowed me to take a step back from being so on the phone and so much giving and energy going there. And it's directed a lot of my resource into life itself, into dreaming bigger, into visioning, into that reality, the unseen energetic realms, right? So it's a way in which we can support our inner feminine as well, to like really be in body. I mean, you can literally, after listening to this podcast, you can literally go lay down on the floor doing nothing and just let your body relax, let your tailbone sink into the ground, into the earth, like let your shoulders go, relax your heart, and just think about what is coming in your life, like what you're excited about, what you're manifesting, quote unquote, like you can talk about it, what you desire, but I like to say what's coming because it shifts you into a space of knowing that it's coming.
Yes.
So it's different.
Ooh, I love that reframe.
And that can be the most productive thing that you do all day. Just that, like we have to shift our idea of what is productivity.
Yes.
And tune into like, how productive am I being in dreaming, in visioning, in like really believing in what's coming.
Yeah, it's almost like you're in ceremony with the quantum, with the feeling, with your desire. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a misconception that like the harder you work and the more you work, the more success you will have, when that doesn't have to be true, when you can tune into the quantum.
Yeah, definitely. And it's different for everyone based on the stage that they're in. What I'll say is that there were times in my business where I spent more of my energy in the phone. There are times in my business where I had more one-on-one clients than I do right now. However, because the nature of my, like how I got into this work was all about serving my body and all about the journey of body and pleasure and feeling, I never like super deeply hustled in order to be where I'm at. So I just want to say that to anyone, because there's also a misconception that's like, yeah, but later on in business, you can relax, but at the beginning you got to hustle. Yeah. And actually you're coding your business to operate in a certain way. So if you're hustling right now, it's going to be way harder to shift that pattern later on than if you just choose to focus right now on your lifestyle. And if staying up until 2 a.m. writing on your computer turns you on, arouses you, makes you so juiced up for life, do it. Like if you're in a juicy hustle zone because it's spirit pouring through you and you're so thrilled about your work, oh my gosh, follow it. Like I still follow those moments when they come in. I love those moments when they come in, but it's not from a place of I have to, or I need to, or if I don't, something bad is going to happen. It's only like, it's only from a place of joy. It's only from a place of service. It's only from a place of inspiration, creativity, art, excitement, channeling. And like anytime there's that thing of like, oh, but I need to, relax it. I let it go. And that way authentic desire can come in. Perfect example is like Instagram posting. Before today, I didn't post for quite a few days. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days. And I could feel that urge in me yesterday to like get content out, because I love it. I love so much that I get to have touch points with the world and serve in this way. But there wasn't anything there. I was sitting with it, not anything there. And instead of pushing myself, because I could have sat down and wrote something, but instead of doing that, I just allowed myself to lean back. And today I literally wrote 5 posts. So it's like, we've got to find what works for us. Some people really like that push through, and it can serve them. But for me, I believe that my creations are more powerful when they're coming from a place of desire and truth and channeling.
Yes. One of my like taglines is create from source, not from force. And like, let's like stop resisting the resistance, because you just create more resistance, and then instead surrender and like, oh, there's the inspiration. And I want to say too, you said earlier about like the hustling from the beginning and how that codes your business. And I just want to be like the example. Like when I first started my business in like mid 2019, my foundation was go fucking hustle, because that's what corporate taught me. That's all I knew. I didn't even know about the world of manifestation, feminine embodiment, the quantum. Like that wasn't even on my radar. And so I hustled. And you know where that got me? To 0 clients in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get introduced to, oh, there's actually a way for you to feel and play into the quantum and feminine embodiment. That was like the catalyst for me, was pleasure. There's actually a way for you to feel good now and to tune into pleasure now and not attach your worth to your achievements, which is like the foundation of pleasurable success. And everything changed. And everything shifted. And then there was the clients, and then there was those bigger money milestones. And then there was like a quantum leap. And I still had to unlearn hustling because it was so deeply embedded. And kind of like you just said, like when I have those moments of like, oh my gosh, all of the things are coming through. I'm posting 3 times in one day. I'm working for 12 hours because it just feels so good. Like that's coming from a place of, I get to do this and it feels good and it feels like it turns me on, versus last week where all I wanted to do was play and still get to be successful while playing, because now I've chosen that reality. But I had to unlearn a lot of hustling because it was all I knew.
Yeah. Yeah. And the lack of success, the lack of clients for you is a really strong indication of, you know, what doesn't work.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Because some people have the experience where they hustle and it works. And then it's tricky because in their brain says, no, but it works to hustle. Like it actually works to disregard my body, disregard, you know, what I want for my life, for my day, and actually like go. And it works. So if like, but there's a way to recode it no matter which place you're in. And it again stems from the choice and the knowingness that you can have it another way. And it might take a little bit to clean up, and it might shift some of things for you on your schedule, and it might feel weird at first. And you might have like a lot of, even when you have less things on your schedule, you could have a breakdown of like, well, what do I do now? What do I do with my time?
Totally.
Life? Like I have so much space. Like, what do I actually want to fill it with? And there can be like a lot of like an energetic death of that part of you that was hustling and that needed the hustle itself to distract you from what was really going on, which was probably like underlying energetics of unworthiness and unhappiness. And so as you devote to, okay, well, actually there could be another way, you probably have parts of yourself to meet. I mean, definitely have parts of yourself to meet that probably feel really scary to address, because there's inner child pieces and some wounds in there and some spaces that really need to be felt and processed and healed and loved and seen, in order to cultivate that space of pleasurable success. Like you've got to be willing to see all of the distractions to it and like love yourself in those places and then slowly unravel those patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was loving myself through the guilt that I was feeling through not hustling, because I experienced that guilt. And I think that's a huge thing for a lot of the women listening. It's like, oh, if I'm not doing, then I feel guilty for not doing, but I feel guilty for feeling guilty. And it's just this cycle of guilt. And
so what did you do with the guilt when you started to meet it and it started to show up? How did you address it?
I accepted it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about it except accept that it's there. And then the acceptance of that led to, oh, I can actually move through this, and I can have an embodiment practice to like get the guilt out of my body, to release it, to alchemize it. But I wouldn't have been able to do any of like the journaling and the embodiment practices and all of that without just saying, all right, it's there. Yeah. My love, I have one last question that I ask all of my guests here. So important to know, and I'm really excited to hear your answer. And what comes through for you is, how can the person listening to this make their success the most pleasure-filled experience?
Trust what lights you up. Like, trust those impulses of, oh, like this actually feels really good when I'm doing it. Not just for the end result, but what actually truly lights a spark inside of you. Because if it's lighting you up, it's gonna be pleasurable. Like, even if it's writing an email and you're like, can I have pleasure writing an email? Yeah. If it's lighting that spark within you, then that's your zone of genius, right? That's where you're wanting to move. That's life moving you in the right direction. So, like, listen to what lights you up and let go of the noise of everything else, because ultimately that's the biggest distraction that we have in our pathway of success, is that there's so many options. We can build 30 businesses, collaborate with 20 people. We could, have products, not have products, have in person, have online. There's so much that you can do on this planet, in your business, on your path of success, that it's like really the only marker of what's going to bring you the ultimate pleasurable prosperity is the thing that truly lights a spark within you and reminds you of why you're alive. Like, and so look for those places, look for the places that really give you that, like, oh yes, this is me. Oh yes, this feels good. Oh yes, here's the spark, and follow it. Do more of that. Instead of building a Facebook group and an Instagram thing and a this and a that and a podcast and a YouTube and doing everything, just focus on the things that bring you joy. There were times in the past where in 2020, I didn't run any free master classes or anything like that. I just launched my courses through my stories and through my posts, and people kept looking at me like, how are you doing this? How is this working? And it's because I loved it, right? And so I only do what I love. If I offer anything, if I offer a class, if I offer a post, if I offer a story, it's because I'm loving doing it. It's lighting me up. It's giving me something as I'm giving to it. Like, I feel so lit up and so fulfilled from being in this moment with you, being on this podcast, being with your people. And it's just like, cool, more of that. That's all I need to know. So follow the sparks and you've got it.
Oh, I love that. Follow the sparks. Trust your, I forget the first thing that you said. Trust your, what makes you feel alive, I think is something. Yeah. Ashae, thank you, sister. This has been so amazing. I'm pretty sure they know to find you on Instagram, and all of the spelling and everything will be on show notes. But is there anything else that you would like to promote, sell, give to my audience today?
Just thank you for listening. This has been so fun. I've felt all of you with us here in this conversation, and it was such an incredible podcast. So I'm super thrilled to share everything that came through today. And yeah, find me on Instagram, also my website, ashaesundara.com. And the thing I feel like we talked about the most, that's open all year round. So it will be applicable whether or not you're listening to this podcast now or months into the future, is the Quantum Year. And this is my year-long container for entrepreneurs, and it's all about mastering entrepreneur energetics. So like everything from marketing to copywriting to coaching to sales, but all addressing it from a place of embodiment, addressing it from a place of healing, addressing it from a place of personal power. So that's the thing that I want to just like sprinkle in here as an invitation. But other than that, I feel so happy and I'm so thrilled, and thank you for having me.
Likewise. And if you enjoy this episode, please share it with the world, screenshot it, tag Ashae and I on Instagram. And I hope you got all of the medicine. I would listen to it twice because there's a lot of gold nuggets in here. So I love you all for listening, and I will see you next episode.